Good evening, everyone. It's about 6:30 p.m. here on Thursday, December 22nd, 2022. Sometimes when I start these videos, I feel like I'm vlogging for the Armageddon that is coming. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit of a video, educational on time cycles. I was doing a little bit of analysis this evening, and I noticed something, and I felt that it was important to document. So before I get into all this, of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. You're responsible for your own trades, managing the risk, doing your own research. This is always just my opinion on the market, but I feel like I've got something important enough here that I should mention it. And again, this is going into time cycles. So I've got the S&P 500 here on the weekly. All right, so bear with me. I've got the S&P 500 here on a weekly, and I'm just going to kind of zoom out a lot. I'm going to go way, way, way out as far as TradingView will let me. I don't want to go any higher than a 1 week time frame. I could go to a month, I suppose, and it would be fine. But what I found was easy to see, easy to analyze on a weekly time frame. What I'm actually going to be focusing on is this little area right here. So the price action here, I mean, we can all agree this was pretty corrective, and it started with a high here in January of 1966, and it ended at the bottom, which was in September of 1974. All right, so that's like 12 years that this took from the top to the bottom here. It's a significant period of time. But there's a tool in TradingView that not a lot of people use, and honestly, I haven't used it in probably a couple of years. And then I was having a discussion with a member on the Discord, and we were talking about cycles and things like that. Time frame. How long does one thing happen before the next happens, and is there any correlation to those movements? So what I'm going to look at here, I'm going to see if I can make this line a little bit smaller so that it's a little easier to see. I'm going to change the color to white so there's a little more contrast there, because I think what we're going to look at is really, really interesting. So what I'm going to be focusing on is there's a little bit of a high that occurs right here. And then, of course, we've got a major low that occurs right here. And so just to kind of give you the thought process, I said, I wonder if there's any correlation between this market top and this market bottom and other major tops and bottoms in the market. So what I did then is I went ahead and I found my time cycle tool, right? And what I then did was, I took this bottom right here, and I'm just going to put it off to the side. So I'm going to move it up here, and then I'm going to go to the left. You can see it grows right along with it. I'm going to pinpoint that top there. I suppose I could take it just a little bit further here. And just looking again at this major market top here and this major market bottom here. And again, just to see, is there a correlation between these? Now, as I move around, what I want you to actually focus on is my my crosshair. Okay, so I'm going to change this to just a plain white line so that, again, it's easy to see, because I want you to focus straight up and down from where I hit these time cycles. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of mark these with a, I've been using my my little bullseye here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of mark them with a, let's see, I'm going to use my little eye, and let me just go ahead and resize this so TradingView remembers. And again, I'm going to give it a white color just so that it is easy to see. All right. So again, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Now that my setting is saved, I'm going to go back to my little eye, and I'm going to put my redraw tool on. So this is where things started to get a little creepy for me. Okay. So obviously we are marking the top right there, and we're marking a bottom right here. Okay. But now let's just go ahead and move forward. This right here, what does this coincide with? It is literally the exact bottom right there. So this was the exact bottom. So let's move forward. What happened at the next one? Well, this was also on a pullback before we saw a decent move to the upside. What happened at the next one? This was the top of the market in May of 1983. We had a little bit of a pullback there, right? So there was a pause. The next one was right here. And what was that? The very top in 1987. Okay? Then what did we have? The next one. It was right before, we had a little bit of a pullback. It was right before a major move to the upside, which continued. The next one was right here, which is where we had a little bit of a stall. We'll call this one maybe the exception. Not a whole lot happened right there. But the next one, right here, what was that? That was basically the top, right? So that marked a significant top. We go forward to the next one, and again, we had a little bit of a pullback before we saw another move to the upside. And then the next one, and you're kind of getting the drift here. There's something with the cycle that I've found here that's important. This right here was the bottom almost of the 2008-2009 crash. Okay. Next one here, we move forward. There was really nothing that happened right here. It would just continue moving up. I'm going to put the little eye there just so that we can see that. The next one right here was really close to the blow off top here, which started, the kind of the next cycle. But let's go ahead and move on over to the right for a moment. And let's take a look and see what we've got so far right now. So the next one right here, and it will be no coincidence, December of 2021 ended up being basically the top, and I'm going to try and pinpoint it perfectly. You can see that, right? If I put my cursor right there, you go straight up and straight down. That is literally the top of the market. So then the next cycle is not going to really end until 2026. So does that mean we're going to get a significant bottom in 2026? Or does that mean that we're going to see, a continuation to the upside and we get another major top when that time comes? That remains to be seen. But the other really interesting thing, and I think you'll all agree that, with the exception of a few of these, so for instance, this guy right here was sort of an outlier. This one, it had a little bit of a thrust that went up there right at the very end, but maybe we'll call this one an outlier as well. But a lot of these happen right after, pullbacks, right? Or major bottoms and major tops. I think you can all agree with me there. So let's go ahead and go into the past and let's see if it coincides with events that occurred in the past as well. Now I'm going all the way back here to the 1800s. Let me just go ahead and pull this down so we can see the cycles on the chart. Okay. So let's take a look and see if we have any more confluence in history. So we've marked that top right here, top, right here, top, right here. It was a top before we saw a little bit of a pullback. Right here, it was right after a significant bottom. There was a pullback right there before it continued higher. And we can go back a little bit further. Right there was another top, right? Go back here. What did we have? We had a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a bottom there. We'll call this one an outlier. And then, of course, we don't have anything that goes back to before 1872, but that's where we've got another point of interest. But I would say the majority of these points have seen major pivot points. I'm going to try and circle the ones that maybe aren't as as pronounced, right? Again, we've got I'll call this one a top, this one a top, this one a top, this one a top, this one a bottom, the next one a bottom. These cycles, they are something. I'm not trying to be Illuminati here. I'm not trying to say that there's something spooky going on, but I think you can all agree with me that so far almost all of these pivot points with this time cycle that I've found has marked significant events in the stock market. And again, we've seen a major top here, and if we want to try and look at this from the terms of the previous times where we found a major top, when we see the next cycle, it's usually when there's a move up and then the next cycle is a bottom. And again, we can also go all the way back here to where I was originally looking. This cycle marked a top. The next cycle was a bottom. The next cycle was a bottom. So the next time we get to a cycle here, or a cycle completion, again, that's going to be March of 2026. Now remember, we have 2023, 2024, 2025. We've got 3 years before this cycle completes. That is a lot of time, and honestly, a lot of you are going to forget about this video by then, and that's okay. But for right now, you're looking at this with me and you're watching and you're wondering, what on earth is this and why does it matter? Because the time cycles are not equal, right? We've got November of 2021, then we've got March of 2026, and then we've got July of 2030. So we're not talking about January and then January and then January. We're talking about like, very odd time frames that somehow add up to something. So what I intend to do is I intend to take astrology and mix that with this. I want to look and see if there's any lunar cycle coincidence that correlates here, because I do believe that there can be some things like like planet conjunctions, retrogrades, things like that would play into something like this. But these time cycles are really super interesting in how they actually line up with a lot of major tops and major bottoms in the market. I will be taking a look at Bitcoin with this as well. Obviously, Bitcoin wasn't trading back in the 60s or 70s or anything like that. But with its limited history, we may actually be able to find something that lines up very similar to this. But for now, this is quite a discovery, and so I'm going to continue to be operating in bear mode probably for the next 3.5 years, looking at this, or maybe at least the next 3 years. We're going to be looking through how this resolves. And I'm going to try and go back and, find a correlation here. And when we have this bottom right here, I guess what I will point out, if I may, if I take this pivot low here and I take it to the middle of this, and I'm going to try and get this pinpointed as perfectly as I can. It's going to be about right there. So right here, one thing that I just kind of want to point out, halfway through the cycle, we did have a major bottom right here. I'm going to change the color because that is sort of like alternating, right? So, there could be something with a half cycle as well. And seeing how that correlates, again, right here, we did have a little bit of a major top before, before kind of a significant pullback, right? And, again, right here, this was almost the top. It wasn't exactly the top. So, this was near the top before we saw, the major crash. But just kind of going back and looking at this again, right here, there's a top right there. So, over and over the, the full cycle and half cycles that go along with this, very, very interesting to me. Again, here's another exact top right there. We kind of move forward, we find another right here where we had, just a little bit of a pullback, nothing super significant with that one. Here's a half cycle right there. This was marking a top right there. We go over here, we find, again, this is not a significant pullback, right? But that did mark a little bit of a bottom. So again, something with this cycle does have some coincidences along with it. The half cycle, for the record, is November of next year. Okay, so November of next year, that's something a little closer. If we go down into this cycle bottom, I'm just going to kind of put this right here. I'll be watching this. And again, if we go down into this, right, if we go down into November of 2023, I'm going to be looking for that to be, a bottom in the market. Now that would be very, very, harsh. I'm not sure that we're going to get that, But, you know, if we do get a pivot there and then we see that move down into right here, right? So March of 2026, something like this would actually make a lot of sense, right? So we get that bottom right here, we move up, and then we see that move down into, you know, our full cycle completion, which again would be right there. So again, this is what I wanted to talk about, and I felt like there was too many coincidences, and I had to share this with all of you guys. So hopefully you found this helpful. If you did find this helpful, you can find more information on how to access our Discord on our website, bitdoctor.org. There's also probably a link in the video description as well. However, if you're watching this 3.5 years from now, you know, you may have to find different methods of getting in touch with me. You can, my email address is mybitdoctor@gmail.com. Feel free to email me anytime. And I guess last but not least, wherever you are in the world, hope you're having a good day, good night, and a good evening. Take care, everyone.